This is not.
Awaken World News with Patrick David Bonin.
Fox 13 News has confirmed there is a criminal investigation into the Utah-based nonprofit Operation Underground Railroad.
Good day, lovely people. Thanks for joining me on another broadcast of Awaken World News, where we have to expose the story that is trying to be fed to us. You know, there is a saying that the best story wins, and in our story, there is becoming a truth of this child blank that's happening around the world. There's a lot of controversy around the Sound of Freedom movie. There's the left that's saying that it's a big QAnon hoax and they're trying to, turn it into the QAnon psyop. Well, when QAnon came along, it obviously had a bunch of crazy parts to it that made it unbelievable to the masses. However, the basis of all that was that there was child slavery rings happening around the world. And that got shut down by that psyop. And now there's a movie that's come out that's exposing the same thing. And Hulu and Prime, Amazon Prime and Netflix, they all said no to putting the movie on. They wanted to block it, even though it's very popular, obviously. Disney bought the rights to the movie and kept it hidden for 5 years. And now it's coming out, and there's all this controversy about the theaters being shut down, the heat being turned off, all of this opposition to having this movie watched. And when I look at that, I see that there's something very important that needs to come out. Regardless of who's trying to stop this from happening, we have to know that when you have opposition to something, it's probably something that's very true. So when I think about the movie, I have to say I haven't seen the movie. There's nowhere around here that's showing it. I do want to see it. I think it's probably a very powerful movie, and it's probably very gripping. And if it is as true as it is, then we have to see this as a win for the story that's being told, because it is becoming very obvious that the masses knows of this dark entity that's happening around children. So when I see now, I work with another group, and they're a bunch of freedom fighters, and this topic came up in our last conversation, and there was some hostility that happened because there's people that are really emotionally connected to this movie and are so happy to see it out, and they see that like Christ is behind that, and that's the same way I felt about it when I watched the interview with Jordan Peterson and the people from this movie. I heard them talk a lot about Christ, and that's like a sign. That's a great sign for me. And that at the same time, what I realized is right at the beginning of that interview, Jordan Peterson went straight into the controversy, and he went on and read some stuff right off the internet about the controversy. And the controversy that he talked about was none of the controversy that I have found, which I'm going to show you here shortly. So when I see Jordan Peterson, who is a very intelligent person, comes in straight at the controversy because he knows there's controversy, but then he ignores the really important controversy, this is another sign that Jordan Peterson is controlled opposition. And like I said, I'm not making any judgments. I'm just pointing out where the chips lie. And I did a video on Jordan Peterson and about his potential controlled opposition. And some people are controlled opposition and they don't know it. They're just ignorant and brainwashed. But then there's the controlled opposition that know it. And I just don't think Jordan Peterson is that stupid that he wouldn't put more information. And in that video, which I'll put right up here, I talk about the Netanyahu interview that he has, and what I'm seeing is that there is a story being told as if it's very true, but they're leaving out very important things. And somebody that's as powerful as Jordan Peterson should have the ability to point out some of the things that I've found very easily about the people that have put this movie out into the world. But I want to say the best story wins, and our story is telling the truth about some of the darkest things that have happened, and that's where we have to see this as a win. However, we have to be very conscious of controlled opposition, and so when people come out and they're like, oh, be careful, we've got to wait, and especially when the Daily Wire starts pumping it out and not asking the hard questions, because I see Daily Wire as one of the controlled oppositions, then we should ask these questions. However, in that meeting we had, they went straight to, they're going to be chipping your children and all this stuff. And this is the same stuff that's put into people that makes people not listen. If you point out just what's actually true about it, then maybe you can get their ears. And that's why I've got some things that everyone can look at. These are all just, there's allegations, but there's also some truth about who's funded this movie, and you can make of it as you wish of it. However, the movie coming out, whether it's backed by these dark entities or not, is a win, and we should see it as that, and it should be promoted to awaken people. But however, after you take a look at this information about the person that funded this movie and some of the other people connected to that, maybe you should not support the cause through these people, because it sounds like it may not be as benevolent as we think. However, we can't know until there's a proper judgment. In this world, do we see proper judgment? So that's why we have to just go with our feelings and be very careful with these things. Yes, this movie is out. It's awakening people to the darkness, the underbelly of this world. I guess it doesn't connect to the global elites and stuff like that in the movie. However, there's enough information to connect all the dots, and whoever can't connect them at this point, well, I don't have to say much about them. So this is a big sign of a win. The more that people try to hide this story, the more it's going to get out there. That's how this works. We're living in the time of the awakening. And when I talk about controlled opposition, we have to remember is that the awakening can be hijacked. And whenever I see somebody raised up by the Babylon, I either have to ask, are we in the time of righteous rule now? Did we arrive in the time of righteous rule? And that's why, Jordan Peterson, Daily Wire, they're all multimillionaires and they're all like in leadership roles. Or are we still in the story? And remember, a best story wins, right? So would this story really be that exciting if Daily Wire and the Underground Railroad came in and saved the world and that was it, and we knew who the benevolent people were? Or do you think there might be some psychological thrilling going on in this story? I'd really like to know any of your guys' opinion about this situation, and please put it down below. We should always know whenever there is a story that comes out, whether true or not, it's going to be used as political fodder. It's going to be used for political means. And that's the stuff that we should be very careful with. Be careful where you're putting your money, or if you're investing in stopping this child trafficking. And remember, keep the eye on the ball. We have to remember it's hard especially when we're emotionally attached, to see the forest from the trees. And there is a big story being played out here. And let's pay attention, because a lot of people will be tricked by the Antichrist and by the end times. And what I see is Christianity is gaining so much power. Christ is becoming the end of this story no matter what. So they're going to try to hijack Christ. And that's why we have to be very careful with the Christian the power of the Christian church, the places where church holds power. If anything, the churches are more pure than ever because they haven't had any power. The more power that is there, the more that the Antichrist is going to fill that church. So when the church becomes powerful again, we have to know who's going to be ruling over that church. And I'm not talking about the churches here, your local churches and your local communities, your local Christians. I'm talking about the government church that's coming back together. We are ending in Christ. They can see the end of the story, so they're going to try to hijack Christ. So just be very careful, and please, Christ is our way. And I know this, but Christ is the truth. That's like first thing, he is the truth. So always seek the truth. Just like in the poke, a lot of people were shown all this evidence that it was dangerous, but they could not see it because they were so emotionally connected and to that story. Don't become too emotionally connected to the story they're providing, or else you won't be able to exit it. You won't be able to see the forest from the trees. I love you all, and God bless, and take care.
Who's paying for this movie to come about?
I think Jim's. Aren't you from the building? A great group of people have come together to invest in this production. Some of them, the Carlos Slim family is involved.
Really?
From Mexico.
In the Times is Carlos Slim. Now, Carlos Slim, as you know, comes from Mexico. He's given many millions of dollars to the Clintons and their initiative. So Carlos Slim, largest owner of the paper from Mexico. Reporters at the New York Times, they're not journalists. They're corporate lobbyists for Carlos Slim and for Hillary Clinton.
Fox 13 News has confirmed there is a criminal investigation into the Utah-based nonprofit Operation Underground Railroad.
The organization works to rescue human trafficking victims around the world, including here in Utah. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbetz joins us now with what we know so far. Adam.
Yeah, Bob Kelly, because this is an ongoing criminal investigation, both sides are very limited in what they are saying. But Fox 13 News has learned that prosecutors are looking into several allegations. Now, Fox 13 News has learned the Davis County Attorney's Office has opened a criminal investigation into Operation Underground Railroad. According to Davis County Attorney Troy Rawlings, quote, "We've received complaints and are in the process of reviewing those complaints to answer questions about the nonprofit." The Davis County Attorney's Office is also saying little about its case, but Fox 13 has learned County Attorney Troy Rawlings posted a series of messages on his personal Instagram account last month. Quote, "Please beware of any individual, entity, or organization who solicits your money and may be claiming credit for work to protect children that is actually done by our task force. They have had absolutely zero involvement in any of these arrests and successful prosecutions you see on display on the wall of shame in the Davis County Attorney's Office." According to public records, the nonprofit's revenue has more than tripled over a span of 4 years.
Let's do it, man. We're going to answer the controversial questions right now. Oh, there's some big ones.
OUR posted this video online last week, which did not address the investigation.
The sooner we answer these questions, the sooner we can all join together and putting all of our efforts down.
Earlier today, we received this brief response from Operation Underground Railroad's legal counsel, Adam Becker, who says he spoke with the Davis County attorney today, who told him there is no investigation. We also reached out to the Attorney General, Sean Reyes. His office says they aren't aware of any investigation, and he wouldn't comment, even if he was aware of one. Bob, Kelly?
So, Adam, is there an investigation going on then?
Yeah, I mean, based on all of the documents we've received, based on the quotes we've heard from Troy Rawlings, the Davis County attorney, we firmly believe there is an investigation going on here. We cannot answer or speculate why OUR's attorney would send us a statement stating that there isn't one, but we're confident in our reporting, which is why we're here tonight.
Adam, this is a bombshell of a story. Of course, that nonprofit, very well known here in Utah. Keep us updated.
To a judge and get a solution for that. Maybe a homicide case, perhaps. But again, primarily the use of this software, as I understand it, is strictly children. And that would be the SOP we would utilize for extrapolating this information from the cell phone.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Studley. Whenever I was reading through here, it doesn't say that that's all that it has to be used for. It said that that's what the recommended use is, but they wouldn't pull back their contract or funding or require the city to pay them back if they used it for something else. You said that you guys were approached by this company. I just want to kind of read some information here. So in 2020, Tim Ballard, who founded he came under investigation and is the subject of several investigative series that details his relationship with corrupt foreign government officials, his history of fabricating rescues and statistics, and several reports detailing accusations by law enforcement agencies, both foreign and domestic, accusing Ballard of fabricating and extricating their relationships, including multiple accusations of creating and fostering an environment of child sex trafficking, and evidence detailing OUR was an ongoing criminal enterprise since its founding. The other thing I want to read is that, and this is the Organized Underground Railroad. They are centered around Black and Latino children in its fundraising work, but ignored requests from Black activists to change the organization's name. At the same time, Ballard called an Operation Underground painting by Utah artist John McNaught, who also was the early, did a painting of Barack Obama burning the Constitution in 2012. He created a painting for this organization depicting Ballard, his wife, and other white people carrying Black and brown children rescued from trafficking along a literal railroad, with Harriet Tubman standing to the side and referencing along their path. And finally, Ann Gallagher, who the United States Department called the leading global expert on the international law on human trafficking, published an essay critical of OUR's tactics, which is this company that approached you guys. She said that their raids show an alarming lack of understanding about how sophisticated criminal trafficking networks must be approached and dismantled, and called their operations arrogant, unethical, and illegal. So I just want to make sure that we all understand who we're getting in bed with here, and that if there is software that's available for this type of uncovering device, if you have a warrant from a judge, I'm sure that there are other companies that would be willing to help you or that we could work with, but I'm not comfortable getting in bed with this company at all, and I don't think that you guys as a police department should want to get in bed with someone like this.
So that we don't allow our emotions to blind us from logic and reason. According to MK Ultra whistleblowers, the CIA acquired children for Project Monarch by cataloging child pornography sent through the U.S. mail. And the only thing that's changed since then is that the world has gone digital. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or the NCMEC, went international in 1999. The ICMEC was launched by Hillary Clinton and Tony Blair, with Richard Branson acting as a founding sponsor. In 2009, the Clinton Global Initiative partnered with the Polaris Project, and by 2014, they created a global modern-day slavery database of organizations in 100 199 countries to monitor human trafficking. Also in 2009, Amber Reddy Incorporated selected the Podesta Group, the infamous pedophile art collectors of the WikiLeaks Podesta email scandal, to be their PR company, where they were responsible for promoting Amber Reddy's cell phone technology, which created a database of children so that if they ever were abducted, their information was already on file. Once this child database syndicate was launched, human trafficking increased. Within 9 years, the human trafficking industry went from around $30 billion a year to $150 billion a year. Nearly all child pornography is processed and stored within this framework on foreign servers in Sweden. In 2014, President Obama assigned the task of how to manage this gathered intelligence data to John Podesta. The Clintons, the Podestas, and their friends are demonstrably involved on the criminal side of child sex trafficking. If this is news to you, I recommend my report from 2019, Are the Clintons Involved in Human Trafficking?, which is based on the well-researched article by Corey Diggs. And it is this group who manage and run Polaris, the ICMEC, and the NCMEC. And these are the same groups that Angel Studios, producers of The Sound of Freedom, are directing people to as a way to combat child trafficking.
So you may know that children were coming to this country from other countries. We were taking them into the care, HHS, and then delivering them to sponsors, unvetted sponsors throughout the United States. So because one whistleblower came forward and because one organization was willing to tell the truth, I was able to then uncover and report that the U.S. government is the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation. We literally have government-sponsored, taxpayer-funded child trafficking. So one whistleblower coming forward, telling the truth, sets in motion.
And if you believe that the Democrats are the problem, then I recommend you look into the Franklin cover-up and the Bohemian Grove. Pedophilia is how the hidden hand controls their politician puppets. Awareness of this horrific problem is good, and perhaps Angel Studios is unaware of who they are promoting. But if we think that the same NGOs whose efforts increased the child sex trade by 500% will somehow end child sex slavery, then maybe we are too emotional to think clearly.